What's up, girl?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
New week, a new start.
That's
Look how
right.
big my hands look. I have like big hands compared to me.
Look at mine.
That makes me feel better. Hey
Oh,
guys.
hey, what's
Oh gosh. This is a really good topic this week and so fitting.
I agree.
So
Especially
this
after
week,
Mother's Day, don't you think? Because the greatest
yes.
gift that we can give ourselves as mothers is learning to distinguish and what gives us balance in our life.
Yeah, so this week we're talking about the balancing act. And I'm really honest, and I talk about a time when somebody asked me a question that just stopped me in my tracks. Um, it was as simple as, what makes you happy?
Hmm.
And I couldn't answer it. And so then I realized, maybe I'm not taking care of myself. And it just led to this great journey of, change and soul searching and that sort of stuff. So,
Yeah, speaking of that, so um, let's talk about the symptoms that you can exhibit. And it can be a little different for everyone, of course, because we're all unique individuals, but the symptoms of an unbalanced life. Because generally, I think there are only so many emotions and feelings that we probably all overlap in some way. Like for me, I notice that I get really short. Um, Mostly with those like my children and my husband, because I can turn it on for other people, of course, and be nicer to the people in the checkout line at Target than my own family. um, but I can also get, I'm also tired, more tired than
mhm.
normal. I am a little grouchy. I have a little my fuse is a little shorter, so my, I call it my patience muscle, is real tired, and and apathetic, and so I don't have as much grace and patience. So those are some of the symptoms that I have when I don't have things balanced out in my life. How about you?
So, I'm not a little grouchy. I am like raging. I may come in and throw something, like my keys. I don't
Huh?
know. I'm pretty aggressive.
That's exciting.
Is it? Let's talk to my family
I
about
have
how exciting
I
that
have
is.
slammed a door or two.
Oh, that's just my everyday over here. Well, I will say, as I can go back and see when my life was the most unbalanced, my whole day was full of adrenaline because I was running, 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 and
Yeah.
my schedule was unbalanced. There was no self care for myself because there was no time to self care. I can literally say there was no time in my schedule to do anything that I would have enjoyed doing or liked to do, let alone spend some time with my husband by myself. And so that even goes back to our previous podcasts on, just say no and how to create boundaries.
Yeah, I hope that y'all noticed we're kind of building up to this. With our previous two podcasts, we started out, just say no, learning that it's okay to say no, how to kind of stay in tune with what the Lord's calling you to do, and practicing that skill of saying, normally I would, but this time I can't. And then also boundaries, setting up healthy boundaries that can help you, when those things are in place, it is easier for you
Mhm.
to discern what those things are that you need in your life to maintain some balance so that you're better for everyone around you, including yourself and the Lord. But it also gives you the time you need to include those things that give you balance in your life. Because if
Yeah.
you don't have time, it's great to know what they are, but if you don't have time to get them done, then what good is it, right? It just makes it more frustrating, and probably you get, angrier, or, and I just want to encourage y'all. I have a really good friend. I wish I could give you the specific example, but I have a really good friend who recently confided in me a challenging family situation that she was going through. And we talked about boundaries, and she set in place some really healthy boundaries it was so difficult for her as a mom. This was with someone in her family, and she was terrified. She was terrified that setting this healthy boundary was going to create a deeper divide, more division, more anger, more resentment, because isn't that all of our fears? That's what we talked about. This is a tangible example. And she set those healthy boundaries in place, and lo and behold, the relationship has actually gotten better than it was
I love
before
it.
the healthy boundaries. Isn't that exciting? And I just want to say that to encourage y'all. Like, we're so afraid, but when we do those things out of love, it wasn't out of anger, it wasn't out of resentment or bitterness, it was out of love, that she set those healthy boundaries. And the Lord just, oh my gosh, it blew my socks off. He is just like that, though. So I just want to encourage you with that amazing story. But when we have those boundaries and we've said no and we have more margin in our lives, then the things that we decide that we need to maintain balance we can fit those in.
I, number one, love that story because it is hard to set boundaries, especially with the ones you love and the ones that are closest to you. This week in our podcast, you do a great job of describing how oftentimes we end up picking up someone else's slack, if you will. Someone invites us into their adventure, and just how to look at those things. And you do just a great job of explaining that. But I also wanted to talk about the questions that we've written. One of them is, what is the most, I don't remember the wording, but what is the hardest part of your week, or what is the most dreaded part of your week? And for me, I realized, we started homeschooling about 5 years ago now. And so I started homeschooling, and everyone that's a homeschooler that is, knows what they're doing, is a really good homeschooler, takes their kids to co-op. And so that year I enlisted us, and I say enlist because, I enlisted us in a homeschool co-op. And it was the most stressful time of our week. And I endured it for a very long time. Sunday nights, we would dread it. Oh, we would fight all the way to co-op. And we would leave exhausted, spent. And so, the question that we wrote was, what is the most dreaded time of your week? And the follow-up question is it a necessity? And so at this point in my life, I went, it's the co-op. I hate the co-op. Because do we need this? We don't need it. And we just quit. We didn't even see it through. And you know what? Sometimes it's okay to say, this is actually creating more harm in our family right now. And as much as I want kids, for you to learn that you need to see things through and persevere and push to the end, sometimes you have to go, you know what? Yeah, and that was a bad choice. Like, in the moment, it was a good choice, but as I'm looking at it, it's not working out.
Right.
And also, of course, seek God, right?
Well, I remember a time Emma was younger. She just turned 17 on Mother's Day. So this was several years ago. She was probably like 9 or 10. And we were doing piano lessons, and she had this phenomenal piano teacher. She loved her. She enjoyed piano, but she moved away. And so we tried a second teacher, and then we tried a third teacher, and just none clicked. And so I was essentially, anytime I had to get this child to practice, it was like a knockdown, drag out fight to get her to, practice her piano for the next lesson. And finally, I looked at her and I said, or my husband or someone, and I said, okay, I am literally paying someone to fight with my child. That is stupid. We quit. I made sure she was fine with it. And I was like, who cares? One day, if she really wants to learn how to play the piano, then by darn, she'll do it. But I'm not going to pay someone to have me basically pay to fight with my child. No, thank you. That was not helping us. That wasn't helping me. That wasn't helping Emma, and it wasn't helping our family. So, sometimes And piano's a good thing, but hey, wasn't worth it, right? You gotta balance it out and see.
Yeah, and so I think, this week as you're going through the questions and go back to the podcast, we want you to really think about not only what fills you up, but what drains you as well, right? Like, what is the big draining, seeping hole that you have that's taking everything from you? And what can you do with that? For instance, I'm not a good cook. The kitchen stresses me out a lot. Everything beyond a microwavable meal is, I can make a dinner, but it's not easy. It doesn't come natural for me. It's not really my rhythm. And so is it a necessity? Absolutely. What can I do to make it better? I can listen to a podcast while I'm cooking dinner.
That's right. And I know that, it is easy to talk about figuring out what gives you balance and fitting that stuff in the older your children are, or if you're an empty nester, if you don't have kids at all. And when you have littles, it's a whole different ball game. But I just want to encourage you to listen to the podcast. I do talk a little bit more about this, but it was when I had littles that I determined what I needed to maintain balance and some of the things that I did to incorporate it into my life so that I had it all. You can try to find a Bible study or a small group that has childcare. I will just tell you honestly that is the reason I joined my first Bible study as an adult when I was 30, because it had free childcare. Okay. Yeah. Of course, I got a lot out of it myself, obviously. But, what is it? If you need exercise, you join a place, you go to the gym that has childcare. I used to go and I would work out and I would shower while my kids were in the YMCA nursery. And we did that 3 times a week because I needed time away from them. I needed exercise. And so there are, tidbits about babysitters in the podcast, but there are ways to make it happen, even when you're on a shoestring, because we were on a shoestring budget as well. And so, it's setting those priorities, giving up some other things, but so that you have the time and the resources to do the things that give you balance. So I just want to encourage you that it is possible.
Yeah. And, we don't have babysitters here. We don't have family close by. And so when our kids were much younger, our date night was, I'm going to date us, was, hey, we're going to go get a Blockbuster maybe for us and a Blockbuster maybe for the kids. And the kids would get pizza and my husband and I would get sushi and we'd watch our movie upstairs and they would watch their movie downstairs. And that was our date night. Awesome. And so I think maybe not comparing your date night to maybe your friends that have older kids that are, maybe spending time with their families outside and celebrating. Like, you want that and you'll get there, but just do what you can in the time, knowing that this is just a season.
Yeah. I used in the summers, I used to look at my friends who had littles and they were swimming in the pool with them or, making sure they had their floaties and all this stuff. And I was sitting there reading my Bible study, taking naps. And I'm like, one day, now they drive themselves to the pool. I don't even go. Oh, yeah. I'm like, you will get there one day. Baby steps. But we hope you enjoy the podcast this week. And we encourage you to kind of go through the motions and go through the questions to help you. And I believe we even offer a few additional questions and things that you can ask yourself in the podcast to help you discern what those things are that you really need in your life to help you remain balanced, because it really does help you in every relationship, not just, in your own circle of life, but all those that you come in contact with.
Yes, ma'am. Well, y'all, we look forward to talking to you next week. I think next week we're talking about hearing God's whisper. And so just going right along a little line, like God planned all this out for us.
It is pretty awesome what he does. And we do want to hear from you all if there are any specific topics. So keep us posted. Let us know if there's anything specific that you'd like to hear us hash out and talk about. All right, you ready to dance it out, girlfriend?
Dance it out. We'll see you guys next week. Look at my ear. earrings. Design for Joy.
Design for Joy. You got to check it out. Little plug for Design for Joy, right?
How sweet are they?
I love those.
You can't see my dark hair. Okay, sorry.
A
Bye.
little special Cersei for Mother's Day, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Bye, ladies. Until next week.
Bye.